Hey everyone, and welcome to Cozying Up with a Clear Cut, where we get up close and personal with women that inspire us. Today, I got to sit down with Siff Haider. She's the founder of Arrae, and we talked all the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and what it's like to start a business with your husband. Definitely take a listen. Hey everyone, and welcome to Cozying Up with a Clear Cut, where we get up close and personal with women that inspire us. Today I'm so excited to have Siff Haider with us. She is the founder of Arrae, an all-natural supplement brand. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
I'm so excited to have you. So tell me a little bit about yourself, your background. Did you always want to be an entrepreneur when you were growing up, or did you have like different aspirations?
Honestly, my grandma always says this story of when I was really little, I would pretend to have a shoe shop. And so, I'd try to sell her shoes, except I'd be selling them to her for free. So I think I always had entrepreneurism in me, but didn't really know how to harness it. But later on in life, I wanted to be a writer. So I worked at a magazine, and then went on to start my own blog. And I really liked being a content creator, essentially, because it let me wear a lot of different hats, which I found very creatively stimulating. And I think that being a content creator was like the perfect, almost like boot camp for starting my own brand, even though that was really never the goal for me. Like, I was never one of these people that was like, okay, like here's my life plan, which is content creator, start a brand. Like, that was never it. I'm very like purpose driven. And the reason I started Arrae was because I genuinely saw a white space in the market, and I wanted to help women feel like the best versions of themselves, just based on issues that I dealt with. And so that's a little bit about my background.
So I think like that's a really like natural transition, because I think if you're a content creator, you're kind of a mini like entrepreneur. You're
Totally.
like reap what you sow. You put out as much content as you can. You're trying to always be innovative. So I think that, is a good foundation for, building your own brand. Tell me a little bit about like the white space in the market that you saw, and like some of, the reasons and issues that led you to start Arrae.
So basically, for the entirety of my life, for as long as I can remember, I remember being quite like unhealthy. And what I mean by that is that, in high school, it would just be like me taking a bunch of sick days because I would come down with anything and everything that was in the air. I was always on this hamster wheel of antibiotics, getting better, getting back on antibiotics. And it was just this cycle, and it was just never ending. And I never really found a long-term solution or a plan on how to get better. And so in my early 20s, I ended up hitting my breaking point because I fractured a rib from a chronic cough, which is,
my God.
Yeah, it's something that happens to your grandma, right? If even that happened to me. And when I went to my doctor, I was prescribed codeine, which is whatever, but like, first of all, I didn't want to take it, and secondly, I was like, okay, even if I take this, but what's the long-term plan?
You can't function on that long term.
And what, this happens again, you know what I mean? And so I didn't get the answer I was hoping for. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be a guinea pig on myself, and literally just decided to research anything and everything I could find on more of the holistic route, which, by the way, I was very suspicious of back then. This was like 7-8 years ago. The amount of knowledge and information that's out there today around like natural wellness, it just wasn't there back then. It was very granola, very weird, but I was willing to do anything at that point. And so as I started to get into that world, I started experimenting with different herbs, minerals, vitamins, and started to see huge shifts in my own immune system. So from there, I was like, okay, well, immune system has kind of been dealt with and I'm dealing with it, but I wonder if I can experiment with other issues that I have, like digestion and fatigue, and like just everyday day-to-day issues that seemingly myself and every one of my girlfriends was dealing with. And so I saw a lot of success in all of that, and started to see this white space whereby, as a content creator by then, I was constantly touching and feeling product, especially beauty and skincare products, right? And I'm sure you can relate to this. You can go to a Sephora and you can literally find a product for any issue that you have, right? Like under eye circles, got it. Acne, got it, no problem. And the products are very results driven. They're targeted. They're easy to navigate, formulated by either a dermatologist or a chemist. And it's so beautiful that you really want to ritualize it. Right. Whereas we didn't see, like my husband and I, we didn't see the same thing in the wellness category. It was very convoluted. People didn't really know what to do with their supplements. There were these like ugly white bottles, which were just being shoved to the back of your pantry and forgotten about. It just wasn't there. And we couldn't understand this disconnect, because essentially when you're taking care of your skin, it's still wellness, right? Like it's just external wellness. Mm-hmm. And so but
it starts from within.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And my whole thing was that we as women are so multidimensional, right? We have like 100 things going on. And why should we settle for feeling suboptimal? Like we can actually function at a greater pace and like achieve more, feel better if our health is also in peak condition. Mm-hmm. And so that was really the beginnings of Arrae. We decided that we would launch 2 products, one called Bloat, which is for all things digestion, and the other called Calm, which is for all things anxiety, because those were the 2 most common and most debilitating issues. I have both. Exactly, right?
Mostly the bloat.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone, you and everyone else. And the thing is that both of those issues are also like very closely linked. You know, one causes the other. So it's like an infinity loop. And so we really wanted to create products which targeted these 2 issues and create a brand that was like fun and chic, so that even if you had these issues, it wasn't this like weird taboo thing that you didn't want to talk about. You know, we wanted it to be like as normal as you wanting to treat your acne or your under eye circles. So that's a little bit about the brand.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your Calm and Bloat products and like how they work?
Yeah. So Bloat is a combination of 5 herbs and a digestive enzyme. And what it does is essentially it targets every single cause of bloating and kind of like maladaptive digestion. So, you know, you can be bloated or have digestive issues for a number of issues, from like gas buildup to your body's inability to produce the right amount of enzymes to break down food, to slow transit times. And what we did with our ingredients is we picked these 6 because they synergistically work together to target every kind of way that your digestion can go wrong. And it just gently optimizes things so that, you know, you're functioning as normal. And our product is very proudly laxative free, because we really we worked with a doctor. Her name is Dr. Natalie Mulligan. She's incredible. And she is a specialist in eating disorders. And so, you know, she was really dealing with the most severe of digestive health and mental health issues. And, you know, with eating disorder patients, a lot of the times they'll see a laxative and maybe there's like a chance that they'll abuse it. And so we really wanted to create a product that was safe for everyone to use. We didn't want any conversation around like weight loss to be associated to our products, because that's really not what it's about. Anyone can be bloated, whether you're eating pizza or cruciferous vegetables, and we just wanted to make your life better. And Calm is a combination of 4 herbs, minerals, and vitamins, which essentially calm the nervous system and help with things like the feelings of jitteriness and overwhelm. So our Calm product is actually a non-drowsy blend, which is quite unique, I would say, because in the past when I looked for calming supplements,
it's like melatonin.
Exactly. Or like things that you take at night to kind of ease you to go to sleep, which is great. But we really wanted to create something that people could use in their busy lives, because let's face it, like I run anxious during the day. I have a million things to do, and I needed something so that I wouldn't be such a sweaty person. So that's a little bit about Calm, and the 2 products work really well together as well to kind of like make sure that you're feeling, I guess, like rested and digested.
Yeah. And so you recommend like using them together, like first thing in the morning?
So our products were really built to take as needed. And so with both the products, you can take it anytime during the day. With Bloat, what we recommend is typically after a meal. And the reason we say this is because you can actually take the product before or after a meal or anytime you want, but we say after a meal because if someone is new to the product, we want to make sure that they're dosing themselves correctly. And so just to understand how the product works with their body. So how we like to explain it is like, take 2 if you've had a salad bowl with some beans, take 3 if you've had a bowl of pasta, and take 4 if you're slipping into a food coma. Similarly with Calm, like, everyone will learn to dose themselves as is. But in terms of like time of day, we have customers who take it in the morning, who take it before bed to like beat things like racing thoughts, or like, if they're having trouble winding down to go to sleep. So it really is person to person.
Yeah. So what were some pivotal moments that shaped like your brand's development, that shaped, you as a businesswoman?
Oh my goodness, so many. I'm sure you can relate to this, Olivia, where like every kind of roadblock and challenge is a pivotal moment because you learn to like face challenges head on, and things that seemed like a really big deal back in year one are like not so big a deal this year. You know what I mean? So things like that. I don't know, like lots of pivotal moments in terms of, I guess the like one pivotal moment that like really got us out there. I remember, this is like, I would say like month one into our business. I had gifted influencers really heavily because I come from that world and I know the power of like just one influencer, like telling their community and having a strong community who like reacts. And so I'd done influencer gifting pretty heavily. And one fine day, Nish is my husband and co-founder.
Oh my God, you're also co-founders with your husband?
Yeah.
Me too.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
To talk about this.
Lots to chat about. But we were just hanging out and all of a sudden we see all of these sales coming in out of the blue. And like back then it's like one sale a day and we're happy. And so we're like, what the hell is going on? And so someone who follows me DM'd me with a screenshot of Melissa Wood talking about us on an Instagram live, and we were a completely unknown brand. And she's like, yeah, I've been using this for digestion. And
because you gifted her?
We'd gifted her, yeah. And from there, it was like the floodgates opened, right? Where it was like Melissa talking about us on that live, posting about us on stories. And then it was Lauren Bostic. And then it was Mariana Hewitt. And it was like one after the other, these like very macro influencers started speaking about us.
Oh
and
my God, that's amazing.
Obviously like spillover effect into micros. And then we were also doing a lot of, we always really wanted to treat our customers like influencers as well. So like the packages that went out to customers were really like personalized and super cute. So there was all of that word of mouth stuff as well. So I would say like in terms of business recognition, that was a pretty pivotal moment.
Definitely.
And then there's like things like, okay, I think the resilience that you kind of have over time when things go wrong and you've just been forced to deal with it. Like one time we were already late to deliver orders because we had like run out. And then the day that the new stock was supposed to come in, UPS lost like, I think it was 2,000 units of product, which was all supposed to go to customers. And I was like just sitting there and just bawling my eyes out being like, what, our customers are going to kill us. Everyone's going to just hate us. They're never going to buy from us again. Everything's ruined. But it's things like that, it seems like your world is ending at that moment, but it kind of prepares you for like bigger challenges along the way.
So how did you come back from that?
Nish and I have always been I would say like we're really good at customer service because and still to this day, we are very communicative. Key. Yeah. Like I think founders being able to speak to their customers is really instrumental in a brand's success. We have a very direct line of communication. And so, we were like sending these like very sincere emails out explaining the situation. And I have to say, like, we've been so lucky with our community and, our customer base. Obviously, like people weren't thrilled, but like they were super understanding, and they totally got we explained, we're like, we're a small business, we're doing everything and sometimes things are out of our control, and like just like very honest. We took a bunch of phone calls and thankfully people were really understanding. So I think that the takeaway here is that if something goes wrong, just be transparent about it, and like be truthful and honest and, I guess like appeal to people's compassion. So that's kind of what we did.
So I'm just curious, how did you and your husband decide to go into business together, and what do you think about working with your spouse?
I always knew that if I was going to start a brand, I would have to have Nish or his clone as a co-founder.
So you guys were dating before?
We were dating we just came up on our 10-year anniversary last month, but we had been dating, since college. And he is very different from me. He was an engineer in university. I was in arts and science. So like two completely different worlds. And I think that that's what made our relationship really interesting, because he was so analytical and I was so creative. And so when it came to the idea of starting a brand, like I remember when I had the idea for Arrae, and I just told Nish on the couch, like just sitting there, and he was like, you have to do this. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I remember speaking to him and being like, can you do it with me? Because I just found that I'm like a very creative person, but my skills for doing things like operations or like
Same.
it's not the best. Not that we can't figure things out, but it's like it might take me double the time that someone like Nish, it's like that, you know?
Right.
And he was so good with numbers. And so I think for him as well, he's also always been very entrepreneurial, but I think he was looking for the right co-founder. And I would take him before starting Arrae, like he would come on press trips with me and take a few of my pictures and stuff like that. And so we knew we worked well together in that sense. And we thought that we could work well together in a company setting as well, just because I think that co-founders can run into issues when you're doing two of the same thing, you know?
Yes, totally. 100% agree.
Right? And so for us...
That's where the issues come from, because then you step on each other's toes.
Totally. And with Nish and I, we knew that that would never be an issue, because he didn't really understand my world and I didn't really understand his. And so we just decided that it would be like a really great partnership, because the breadth of things that we could cover together was wide enough that we didn't actually need to make a first hire until like quite some time later, you know, because we really could, like between the two of us, we can cover every area of the business. Like there's nothing that neither one of us are like okay at, you know what I mean? So yeah, we decided to work together, and I have to say, like, it's been one of those things that's like brought us closer together. I love working with him.
Did you start the company before you were married?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's pretty crazy.
It is.
That's a big commitment.
It is.
Yeah.
But we knew.
Yeah.
We knew. I mean, we were engaged by then. And so we knew we were going to get married and everything. But even still, like, I have to say that even if this were like 5-6 years ago that Arrae started, I would still go into business with him, because I can't imagine finding a better co-founder, to be honest. Like, he was like really the one.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Olivia here. Hope you're enjoying our episode. Our Clear Cut collection features fine jewelry pieces inspired and designed with you in mind. Our collection is ever-changing, and each piece is handmade and made to order here in New York City. Don't forget to check it out and use the code COZY, COZY, for free shipping on any purchase.
So people always ask me, so I'm going to ask you, what is it like, separating personal from professional? Do you guys spend too much time together, or do you, enjoy it because you're both working on something you're both passionate about?
So I think because we do two different things, there's work days where we don't even speak to each other. And by the end of the day, we're like, okay, well, what did you do? What did you do? We have no idea. But in terms of separating the two things, like, I think we just have to be very vocal. And sometimes, we're human, and during really busy periods, maybe it's been skewing more towards the work side. And I feel like I'm quite sensitive to that. So I'll be like, nope, like, we really need to switch off. Like, maybe we go away for a couple of days, or like this weekend, like absolutely no work talk, something like that. And we always, like every weekend we make time for date night. And like that date night is like, there's absolutely no talk of business at like in those hours.
That's
but
so hard.
It is hard. It's hard. But what we do try to do is, like, if we are talking about business, it's more so like positive things, like, where it's like a big idea that we have, or like the next step, versus like, oh, like this happened with this employee, or like
negative stuff.
Yeah, because that's like hard on you, and you can't really enjoy the night if your brain is working like that.
Right.
So we just got back last week from a trip to Italy. So we were there for a friend's wedding. And I feel like after coming back, it was so healthy for our relationship to like step away and be on a different continent and a different time zone from our team. I think like like we didn't realize how much we needed it. Things were going well, but like, sometimes you really do need that distance and like time together constantly to like also have your relationship thrive.
Yeah,
so,
totally agree. Oh, that's so funny. Like, because we have such similar situations, and people always think it's so bizarre from the outside. I'm like, no, it makes sense. Like, you have the same goals, you want the same thing, so it's like a perfect co-founder. kind of situation.
I think when it works, it really works. And if you can figure it out and your personalities are complementary,
but
I
you
think
have to do different things. That's
totally.
Yeah.
Even with a regular co-founder, by the way, like even if it wasn't my husband, like if someone, I've spoken to, you know, young founders who've come up to me being like, oh, like I'm trying to, you know, work with a co-founder and like, or like I'm trying to go into business with my best friend. And I'm like, okay, what are your skill sets? And it's like, oh, we're both brand. And I'm like, do two different brands, but not the same one.
Yes.
Do not work together.
That's awesome. So what are like some mistakes you made like early in your career, and like how did you learn from those? I know you mentioned like some things that have gone bad, but like that were external, but what are some mistakes that you've made?
I think when I was younger, I cared too much about what people thought of me.
Yes.
And I think it's just like a problem that like people just have in their 20s. Like you think that everyone's out there thinking about you, whereas people are pretty busy thinking about themselves. You know? And if people are thinking about you and like saying mean things about you, then, you know, it's probably because they don't have a lot going on in their own lives. And so I always like now, obviously my mentality has changed as I've like grown older, but I know that like people who are winning at life just don't have time to think badly of other people or like criticize other people in like a malicious way. And so I think that when I was younger, I didn't pursue things that I wanted to pursue out of fear of what other people would think. So like I remember I had the idea for my blog initially when I was like 20 years old, you know, and I was still in university, but I was like, oh my God, if I start this,
people are going to make fun of me. Whatever,
I was like, people are going to think I'm a crazy narcissist. And so I had a secret Tumblr account. It was quite the time. But, you know, had I stepped into it and been like, nope, don't care, I'm just going to do this because it's what creatively inspires me, I think, I don't know, like maybe I would have been further along in my career. But like, I think that's like a big thing that people who are younger, they need to realize that like whatever it is you want to do, just do it. You know, it doesn't matter. Even if you fail, it doesn't matter. No one cares. Yeah,
totally. And like, it's just the people, it's exactly what you said, like the people that are like gonna hate on you or whatever, that's like coming from their own personal insecurities.
100%.
And that I think is the main thing, like when you get older and you like experience more things, you realize like it has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with them.
Yeah, 100%. So I think everyone should kind of take that away for themselves. And, you know, even if it is a business idea, I think a lot of people don't want to start on their business idea because they're too afraid of failing. But it's like, why are you afraid of failing? Because of what other people are going to think? Who cares?
Yeah. And the worst thing that can happen is that it fails, but you learned so much that like you can just take those lessons on to whatever you do next.
100%. So I think that every failure is just an opportunity to like learn something and make yourself a better person.
I love that. I think that's great. So going back to wellness, you know, you're in the wellness world. You have dabbled in all sorts of, you know, different, what do you call it? Like, is it like Eastern medicine or like what is it?
Holistic yeah, medicine. Functional, yeah.
What are your top 3 wellness tips that like everyone should know about?
I'm gonna say simple ones. First and foremost, I think that people underestimate the power of vegetables. I know it's simple, but like honestly, every single meal that I eat, half my plate is vegetables. And I feel like that makes such a big difference because, you know, micronutrients are a real thing. And, you know, like having a tiny bit of vegetables just doesn't do anything for anyone. Like I think you should be like piling that up. In terms of a really simple other thing is I think looking after blood glucose levels is really important.
I don't even know how to do that.
Okay. So basically like everything we put into our body spikes our blood sugar or blood glucose levels to a certain extent. You know, if it's plain sugar like a donut, it spikes it to a certain degree, whereas, you know, starchy carbs does something else, whereas if it's vegetables, it's different. So it's about making sure that your glucose spikes are not so extreme. So this is an area which I'm really fascinated by lately. I have been over the last year or so. I think a great resource is on Instagram. Her handle is Glucose Goddess.
Okay.
Her name is Jessie, and I can't say her last name, but she's like really, really great. She has like a bunch of tools that she recommends to kind of get blood glucose levels under control. One of my favorites is berberine. It's a supplement. Obviously, everyone should do their research before taking it, but it acts similar to metformin, which is a drug that they give to diabetics with, blood sugar issues. And so if you take berberine maybe 20 minutes before eating a meal which has starchy carbs or sugary, it helps curb that blood sugar spike. And blood sugar spikes are what kind of lead to things like irritability, like a hunger roller coaster. And so getting it under control is just really important to overall health. So that would be like another wellness tip that I have.
That's a good one. I don't know anything about that.
It's
so I'm gonna
really,
look into
honestly, it is completely life changing. And the thing is that if we can get blood sugar levels under control, not like we can regulate everything from our mood to our appetite to, like a lot of people struggle with like weight gain, weight loss, whatever it is. Like, I think you can just really stabilize everything if you look into that. So it's such a big part of the puzzle that I think everyone should look into it. And number 3 is for women specifically is to pay attention to our cycle. So I think that women like to treat themselves like small men, essentially, whereas we're not that. We're biologically completely different. Our cycle is like 4 stages, essentially.
I just learned that recently.
It's really life-changing. And the fact that, we take so long to learn these things, like I didn't even have any clue about this until like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember just being completely blown away by it. The fact that I needed to exercise differently at like each stage of my cycle and eat differently. And, you can really optimize for a lot. So,
it's so much to keep track of.
But it's so interesting. So I use a period tracking app. It's called, I think it's the Flow app that I use, but there's another one called Cloud, I want to say, or something like that. But really interesting. I think it's great to keep track of like what part of your cycle you're in. Luteal is different from ovulation, from menstruation, whatever it is. And like you can eat differently as well. Like I'm really into intermittent fasting, but I don't do it at all points of my cycle because at some times of your cycle, you need more food. You need to fast for a shorter period of time. And so I think the more we learn about that, the better it is. Good resource is Elisa Vitti, obviously. I think everyone knows her. Her book Woman Code is very famous. And my other favorite resource is Dr. Stephanie Estima. So that was a lot of information for these 3 tips.
No, I love it. I love it. Are there any misconceptions like in the wellness world that you hear often?
Yes. So a very common one is women thinking that there is some magical diet pill, and it really breaks my heart. So we have a new product launching. And so for that product launch, we asked our communities to send in like their guesses for what it would be. And I was truly gobsmacked by the number of women who were like diet pill, like, weight loss pill. And I was like, no, because that is A, unhealthy, and B, it just doesn't exist. So I think.
But you'd be surprised like how many women like that know a lot about what's going on and whatever, just still like take diet pills.
Well, essentially,
and like water pills or whatever.
A diet pill is essentially a laxative, and it is really habit forming. It can completely destroy your bowels. Okay. So I think that it's so unfortunate that women have fallen prey to these like, shady companies kind of going after our insecurities, and it really drives me insane. So, if you see things like laxative or diet pill, I think that people just need to stay the hell away from it. And I think another big misconception is that, in the age of social media, we see something that works for someone and we just immediately think that it should work for me too. So for example, last night I was on TikTok and I saw this this girl, and she was like showing like a before and after, and it was like before, you know, lifting heavy weights and doing HIIT, and she was like, you know, she had like a little bit of weight on her or whatever, and then it was like after, she's like toned and sculpted, and she's like Pilates, and I'm like,
I'm on Pilates TikTok now too. I don't know how I got there, but I'm there.
But it's like, okay, like Pilates works for you, and I fucking love Pilates, don't get me wrong. But then I was reading the comments, and then someone's like, did you change anything else? And she's like, yeah, I cut out processed food and alcohol. And I'm like, well, no shit. You know, it's like, of course you're gonna look different if you cut out processed food and alcohol. But like, the point is that I think finding what works for you is really important. And it's not just an umbrella statement, you know, like, if weightlifting works for me doesn't mean it'll work for you. So I think finding what works for you is just really important. Obviously, like, do your research. I think that there's science behind like basic science, and I think everyone should be aware of basic science. But like, I think that social media is a great place, but it's also a dangerous place, and so just be wary.
There's so much to sift through, and so many like contradictory like
so much
fads or like information. So it's like, do I drink this chlorophyll water, or do I like do this? You know, what's gonna like be the key to my like beauty?
Yeah, or like, you know, people thinking that like, oh, I'm gonna go plant-based, and then like all of this weight is gonna fall off my body. Not the case necessarily. Like, I'm anemic, I cannot do plant-based, you know? So just because someone does it on Instagram doesn't mean you should be doing it too, you know? And so when it comes to, you know, your health, do your own research, try it all, but figure out what works for you.
Totally. Switching gears a little bit, since we're a jewelry company, you know, we like to talk about, you know, special pieces of jewelry, things that have extra sentimental, you know, background. Do you have any pieces of jewelry that are extra special to you, and what are they?
So I have two that I can think off the top of my head. First is my engagement ring, obviously.
So pretty.
Thank you. And so it's a really special piece because I think it's very different. So for
what kind of stone is that?
It's a one-of-a-kind sapphire.
Beautiful.
Thank
it's like
you.
A greenish, bluish color for those of you that can't see.
And what's really interesting about it is that I never thought that I was going to be a gemstone kind of gal when it comes to my engagement ring. I always thought, okay, like princess cut diamond. And then I remember going to Tiffany's and trying out like princess cut diamond rings. And I went to all of these boutiques and none of them looked good on me. And so I ended up going to this boutique. I'm originally from Toronto. And so we went to this jewelry boutique in Toronto. I love them. And I like tried this ring on for fun, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And it's like not traditional, which is something that was like I think it's like very cool because my husband and I, we don't necessarily have the most traditional story. And so, yeah, I love this piece. I think it's very special. And the other piece that I'm going to say is I have these earrings, these diamond earrings from my grandma. I'm very close to her. And so she gave me these, like, they're like little, I wish I almost wore them today actually, but they're like little diamond huggies and they're so cool. They're like vintage looking and it's just a really special piece. She gave it to me when we got married. My husband and I, it was like her wedding gift to me. And I just think it's special because she wore them and they're still like so cool and so relevant today. And so, yeah, those are the two pieces.
That's what's so cool about jewelry is that you can like have something and just it passes on from generation and generation and it has so much like meaning behind it when you wear it, not just like a beautiful piece, but like you feel like your grandma's there with you, you know?
Oh, totally. Like it's like so special because even when Nish and I had like our civil ceremony, I wore my grandma's earrings and I just thought that was like, you know, she was there with me. It was like very like sentimental. So yeah, I think jewelry is so powerful and like not just for fashion purposes, but like for the sentimental value that it brings as well.
Awesome. So what's next for Arrae? I know can you tell us what the new and exciting product is?
It's another product which I think will fit right into people's routines. You know, with us, when it comes to product formulation, we speak to our customers a whole lot. And so the product that we're launching is actually like a direct response to something that people said was missing in their routines. And we really wanted to come up with a solution that, I guess, like gave people what they needed. So I'm really excited for it. I'll give your listeners a little hint. It's to do with rest and digest. So yeah, super excited about that. It's our first like very, very big launch since we launched our company. So we're really excited about it. And then we have a couple more products launching in the next year. Again, like R&D takes forever when you're an ingestibles company, and we've been really just diligent about everything. And so, yeah, all of that is coming.
Oh my God, so exciting. Can't wait. I want to try the bloat for sure.
I'm going to send you everything.
Oh my God, thank you.
Yes, of course.
I'm like, oh my God, perfect. I was literally like born bloated and everyone, you know.
Oh my God, yeah. You got to get some bloat in you, girl.
Tell everyone where they can shop, where they can follow all the good stuff.
So you can shop Arrae at Arrae.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Arrae.co. You can find me on Instagram at Siff Haider. And my podcast is the Dream Bigger Podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. That was such a fun conversation. I really, truly love talking to founders that I have so much in common with and hear their stories. I cannot wait to try Arrae to help with my bloating and my anxiety. What products are you most interested in trying out? Let us know.